nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fighting idly.
Waiting on your house shot. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady learning.
God, as always, first and foremost, we'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashek, Wamalak Yahushai, to the 12 tribes are scattered abroad, constantly enduring in his truth. Greetings, overcoming all wickedness, battling demons day in and day out, battling against backsliding and all type of false doctrine. Shalom. Tonight, through the Spirit, Salakia, for the Man of Mondays, I'm a bit late tonight. But hey, the word still must come out. A little tired tonight as well. Went out there and hooped for the new moon and fellowship with the brothers. And hey, body is tired. As we get older and older, hey, your recovery is not as fast as it used to be, right? But through the Spirit, you know, there's a lot going on in this world, Israel. There's a lot of times where brothers and sisters may be discouraged because you may see this prosperity of the wicked and what seems to be like the prosperity of the wicked and what the wicked has going on, right? But when you go into the scriptures, you can see what really that is, right? And I actually want to get this Psalm 73 to kick it off. I was going to start with the 2 Corinthians. Let's get to Psalm 73. In the book of Psalms, chapter 73, and you got to remember this, all right? Because sometimes the flesh may overcome you. You may be in a mind frame of where you're like, look, I'm enduring in this truth. Salaki, y'all. I'm enduring in this truth. Doing the best that I can. Why does it seem like I'm still catching hell? Why does it seem like that such and such who's not in the truth, who's just doing all manner of wickedness, who's not keeping the commandments, who's not, abiding or abstaining from all appearance of evil, who's not keeping the Shabbat, who doesn't give a damn about the Most High God, why does it seem like they winning? And you might almost in your mind get weak and get frustrated, and that's nothing but Satan trying to vex you. Because you have to realize that just because what they're doing or what they're going through may appear to be like everything is all, all smiles and no cries, no drama, you have to realize what really is going on, right? And I think in the book of Psalms, the 73rd chapter, David, and this is a psalm of Asaph, right, goes into that. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. And this heart goes into the mind. What is it saying? That the Most High God rewards you for a clean mind, a mind that's after his own. It said David had a heart after the Most High, like unto after the Most High's heart. So you want to be a good steward of this truth. And you want to make sure that you have a good reputation in this truth. You want to make sure that your mindset is predicated and focused on keeping the commandments. You want to make sure that your mindset is not one that if you fall short, you act like that you fall out of the truth. You want to do all that you can do to try to be an upstanding Israelite, serving the Most High to the best of your ability. All right. And a way to keep your heart clean or keep your mind clean is going to be pouring more into your spirit, pouring more into your spirit, because whatever that you, wherever you spend your time at, that's really what's going to dictate or determine what type of person you are. If you're sitting around watching porn all day, for an example, you're going to be a lewd-minded person, going after your lust. Those are the things that are going to fulfill you. If you're sitting around meditating on the word all day, that's what type of mindset that you're going to have. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. Now let's break this down. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. Now, when you think about this, you may have been in this truth. You may have been striving for righteousness for some period of time, and you might have just fell short. You might have started backsliding back into old habits, into old thought processes, into old ways, into old friends, into old habits. And in the process of backsliding, you might not have realized how close you were to falling all the way back into being that old person that you used to be. And so when you think about that, it's a reality check, because what Asaph is right here in this psalm is saying is that my feet were almost gone. You got to think, narrow is the path of righteousness and wide is the path of destruction. So he had almost gone off of that narrow path. That means when he says my steps had well nigh slipped, he slipped off of doing what was right. And he noticed that he was starting to backslide, I'm led to believe. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. And when you look in this world, you see all types of levels of success. And most of the times when you see a high level of success, I'm not saying all of the time, but a high majority of the time, these people are not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments intentionally. I'm not saying that they're not keeping any. Like, for an example, there may be a NBA player, for an example, who's not shaving his beard. It's okay, who's an Israelite, so he's keeping that law. All right. But he might be breaking every Sabbath. You may have brothers you see in the rap world, or just even in office culture, you might have people who they sleep around with each other's wives. They backbite, they gossip. It's all different type of things. You got to think on the TV, you got basketball wives, you got NBA wives, you got all of these loving hip hop. You have all of these things that glorify wickedness. But it seems to be that they are living a prosperous life. All right. So what he's saying is that I was envious at the foolish. Now, also, too, sometimes in your step slipping doesn't mean necessarily that you actually took action to things as well, because you might have been, your steps might have almost slipped because of you started to be convinced in your mind that the things that you were doing versus the things that someone else, let me say these, the things that you were doing in righteousness versus the things that others were doing in wickedness, that they were getting farther in life. And for even if a split second you allowed that thought to come into your mind, to think like, man, they wicked, but they prospering, your feet are almost slipping, because your mind is trying to associate the prosperity with the wickedness versus the righteous things that you're doing with true prosperity, which he's going to get into. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. This is basically going into saying, like, look, they do whatever they want to do. And they're not getting taken out. They're not getting killed. And even when they die, it's like they lived a life that was just full of pleasure. And it reminds me of in the wisdom of Solomon, it goes into that as well. Maybe we'll get that, Lord willing. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Now, this other men is going into men that are living a righteous life, and it could go into sisters. We know man sometimes is synonymous with mankind as far as, men and women, right? And even if you go back into Genesis, from that perspective, when you see when Adam and Eve were created, before that, the Most High said he created man. And that went into the creation of men and women, right? So they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. They don't seem like they go through trouble. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. Because a sentence against an evil sentence isn't executed expediently, doesn't the scriptures in the book of Ecclesiastes says that their mind is fully set to do evil, right? I'm going to get this real quick, right? Because, one second. Because just because it doesn't happen expediently, them being wicked. Here it is right here. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8 and 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. So you got to realize that the prosperity of the wicked is not going to be it's not sustainable. It's not going to be a long-term thing. Right? The Most High God is not slack in his promises as men consider slackness. All right. So just because they're out there doing wickedness and evil, and it doesn't seem like that they're getting judged for it, the Most High is going to get up with them. And it's kind of like the feds. We always say the feds will rack up. They'll watch you for 10 years. And you think everything is good, and then they'll come down on you. The Most High builds cases. You got to think the holy angels are encamped around us continuously, taking account of every action, every thought. I was in the book of Sirach today. I believe it might have been the 40th chapter, and it was going into that as well. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain. And you got to think about pride compassing you. We pray, I believe that's Psalms 37, that we pray that the Lord keeps his angels and campeth around about us. So that means we pray that we're covered by the Most High God through the angels. But pride is what is covering them round about. What we learned in the scriptures, before pride with pride comes destruction. So, your pride is going to be the thing that ultimately destroys you as a chain. And when you think about a chain or a signet, all right, represents something that is of high value. You got to think certain, as we see in the book, in the prodigal son in Matthew, when the son returned, I believe he put a chain around his neck and he gave him a ring. So these are things that are esteemed of high value. All right. So their pride is what they value, because they keep doing wickedness and it hasn't caught up with them yet. Violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. This fatness is desire. They have more than their heart could wish. You think about Elon Musk, man, he just became the first trillionaire, but he wicked as hell. When you go into look at what he's doing, first of all, he doesn't follow and honor the Most High God. You think he gives a two shits about the Bible? So lucky for my language. That doesn't predicate in that doesn't what am I trying to say? That's not the framework of his lifestyle. He's not looking at the precepts to determine if he should do A or B, if he should go left or right. The laws, statutes, and commandments are far from his mind frame. All right. But he's a trillionaire. With $1 trillion, there shouldn't be well, I say this loosely in the terms of being logically thinking, but we know the Most High God is who sets up men, who cuts down men, who makes people rich, who makes people poor. But from a practical sense, $1 trillion, what you could do to feed the hungry? And these certain people, they have trust funds, they have foundations, but it's all really just smoke and mirrors. All right. They are corrupt and speak wickedly. Concerning oppression, they speak loftily. Think about that. And remember, don't forget, his feet had almost slipped because he started to envy the ways of the wicked, the foolishness of the wicked. And this is foolish. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. They basically are like, look, we're corrupt, and they frame mischief with their laws. They make all different type of laws that are really just for the benefit of the elite, or the so-called white man. To be honest, most of these laws in America are not, they're not for the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. They may be framed to look like that they're all inclusive, but we know when we see the execution of law and justice, I mean, who really gets justice? Depending on how much money you got, depending on who you know. Now we know the ultimate justice goes from the Most High. He's the ultimate judge. So if you're striving for perfection, and if you're keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, that's going to be the best advocate that you have. Man, therefore his people return hither, and waters of a full cup are wrung out to them. Basically saying that they have a lot of favor on the earth. All right. And they say, how doth God know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? They even question the Most High God. They act like that the Most High God's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding the good and the evil. They act like that the Most High God, that they can hide these things. But see, the cold thing about it is that they don't really believe that. They honestly know that the Most High God is in all control, but their pride deceives them. All right? Their pride deceives them. Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Now, just because you're rich doesn't mean you're wicked. But most people who are rich are wicked, though. Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. I want to touch on this real quick. You got to pray against this spirit. If you are thinking anytime in your mind that, look, I've done righteousness and it's been pointless, I've wasted my time in keeping the law, statutes, and commandments because I'm still in the position that I am, but this wicked person is not doing any of this, but yet they're still prospering, and they can afford to pay their bills, and their children are healthy. I'm damn going through this sickness, and I've washed my hands in innocency. I've changed my old ways. You might think something like that in your mind. You got to rebuke those thoughts, brother. You got to rebuke those thoughts, sister, because it's just not, the Most High God doesn't operate that way. He doesn't operate on your time, and he doesn't operate by your rules or by the rules of man. All right. For all the day long, I have been plagued and chastened every morning, saying, look, I'm catching hell. I got problems. I got challenges. I'm going through things. My life is difficult. All right. If I say I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against the generations of thy children. He's saying, but look, I can't complain. If I complain, if I make my complaint, it's just going to be pointless because I'm speaking against the promises that you have given us as Israelites, the generation of thy children. All right. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. And sometimes it gets painful when you sit back and you really think of all of the hardship that you might be going through, and you just can't figure out, man, I just can't get a break. This is how people end up having nervous breakdowns. They unalive themselves. They do something that's crazy. They're not moving through the spirit. And mass, killings and all different types of quarrels and just a lot of different things can happen because it all starts in the mind. Your spirit gets vexed, and now you're open for attacks from Satan. And those attacks might come through a loved one. Those attacks might come through, what you watch on TV, different things that may influence your emotions and how you feel. And it may get just heavy. And this is what he's saying. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. Until I went into the sanctuary of God, then understood I therein. And this is not talking about the Christian church. It's not talking about, I went into the Muslim mosque. This means until I went into the scriptures, this is the sanctuary. Your body is a living temple. He's basically saying, look, when I went around other people who were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, who also were going through hardships, I was reminded through the precepts of what the end is going to be like for all of those people who are prospering according to the world in wickedness. Surely thou did set them in slippery places. Thou casted them down into destruction. You think about being set in a slippery place. It's like you're being set up for failure. Think about that. Think about taking a baby and you setting that baby on the ice, on a damn ice rink. That baby is not, it's not going to be able to be stable. You're setting up that baby for failure because ultimately that baby is going to slip and probably bust their head. This is what Asaph is writing in here. He's saying, look, when I went into the house of the Lord, when I got into the precepts, when I saw how the Most High God is just, how he's long suffering, how he has given no man a license to sin, how the guilty won't escape judgment and the innocent won't be punished. All of these things opened up my mind and started freeing me from those negative thoughts and started freeing me from my feet almost slipping. Because now I'm realizing, look, the wicked, it's not good for them. They may seem like they're prospering in every single way, but they're really not. What is worldly success against godly instruction? The Most High God is instructing you in righteousness to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The world is rewarding you in wickedness for doing D, E, F. I guess I should say H, I, J, K, L. So although people may seem to have worldly success based on not following the law, statutes, and commandments, the way of truth, the way of justice, the way of life, the way of light, and then you may be thinking, well, man, what is really the purpose of me trying to live a righteous life if I'm in this life getting less than what they're getting and they're wicked? But you got to realize your ultimate reward is not in this life. Not saying the Most High God can't reward you in this life. He can. He has power to do whatever he wants, but that might not be your lot. That might not be his will to reward you in those type of ways. All right. So you just got to endure because it might not always be easy. And you might not always get right now what you think that you want or what you think that you deserve. But the fact that the Most High God is still woken you up and wakes you up every day and you're still in the truth, you got to be thankful for that. That got to mean something to you. And I think a lot of times we take things for granted. You're not promised to remain in this truth. The Most High God doesn't owe you anything. Now, his grace and his mercy and his favor, he can give you what he wants to give you, but you're not promised to stay in this truth. So we have to appreciate every single moment that we're in this truth. And don't get sidetracked. Don't get sidetracked by all of the shiny stuff in the world. Don't get because it's easy to get sidetracked. Hell, I got sidetracked before. I got to remind myself constantly. Like, okay, what are you doing this for? Now, working this business is like, sometimes it'd be a lot. I'm like, okay, I got to provide for my family. But is it really just that? You got to ask yourself. And you have to set guardrails through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua in your mind to protect yourself from going too far, to the left. You can't straddle the fence. And if you're focusing on everybody else and what the next man is doing, and not saying you can't focus on loving your people and examining and trying to uplift and things of that nature, but it's even a balance to that. You have to make sure that you are together. That's why it says work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Now, part of working out your own salvation is Lord willing, getting transgressions blotted out by spreading the word, right? Like it says, uh, them who sin rebuke before all, right? Or if one turns, one paraphrasing, one from being from being in iniquity, notice that you have just might have saved their soul and saved hit a multitude of sins, paraphrasing, right? So this is what this is all going into. He's realizing that the Most High God is setting him up for failure. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment? They are utterly consumed with terrors. It's all going good for them until it's going bad. It seems like it's all going good for them, but then boom, in a blink of an eye, they jammed up. And to them, they don't know where it came from. They was winning. They was winning in wickedness. But they don't understand the Most High God's judgment. They don't understand the Most High God is long suffering. But you got to understand that. All right. As a dream when one awaketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Now, the Most High God isn't asleep. This is a similitude, saying when the Most High God decides to bring judgment upon them, in that image, in that instant, they're going to be judged, and that judgment could ultimately lead to destruction. Thus, my heart was grieved, and I was pricked in my reins. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Because now he's coming to his senses like, I cannot believe I almost was fooled and started to really glorify the ways of wickedness because of the temporary reward that they're receiving in a carnal sense. That's what he's saying. I can't, all praise Yahweh Shema Shah, I came to my senses. You gave me the spirit of understanding, because that's ultimately what it is the Most High God allowed you to come to your senses through the Holy Spirit by giving you the spirit of understanding. All right. And you didn't get caught up in what was going on. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee. Thou hast holden me by my right hand. You see, that's what this is going into. He's like, look, man, I know that it was the Most High God. I'm continually with you, right? I want to get this quick precept that came to mind, and it's James. It's James 4:8, when it says, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. So think about this. The wicked, they're not trying to cleanse their hands. Don't fret because of evildoers. All right? They're not trying to cleanse their hands, but the Most High God has commanded you, hey, get closer to the Most High. The closer you get to him, the further away you're going to be from wickedness. You can't get close to the Most High and get closer to wickedness. You can't get closer to wickedness. The closer you are to wickedness, the further it's going to draw you from the Most High. Those things are diametrically opposed. All right? You can't get close to one and close to the other. All right? Cleanse your hands, ye sinners. Stop doing all of the wicked things that you're doing. Stop those wicked thoughts. Stop those wicked actions. Stop lying. Stop robbing. Stop stealing. Stop cheating. Stop being an adulterer. Stop being a slanderer. Stop being a backbiter. Stop breaking the Sabbath. Change up your dietary laws. Stop eating bloods, things sacrificed to idols. Stop hating your brother in your heart. Just stop doing it all. And you have to take an account of these things. You have to have a mental checklist. I go through a mental checklist damn near daily. I'm like, okay, you know what? Damn, I lied about that. Why did I, repent? Now, the next time that situation comes around, I'm doing my best to I marked myself and I marked the situation. And I asked the Most High to examine me like, damn, why did you lie about that? Damn, I was slothful right there. Why was I slothful like that? Man came around. Man, I was slothful like that again. And you got to learn to not allow yourself to make excuses. Because if you allow yourself to make excuses, you'll be prone to continually just making excuses. And then you'll have an excuse for making excuses. You'll say, you know what? Well, I was tired there. And now you're deviating from your discipline. So you got to ask the Most High God to give you that spirit of discipline and to keep you disciplined. All right? Getting back to it. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterwards receive me to glory. Now, peep, this is what he's really saying. He's like, look, I understand that I need your counsel, Yahweh. You got to guide me through this life so I don't ultimately end up like the wicked. So I'm not tricked and fooled by my flesh for temporary gain. That my mind and my judgment isn't overthrown by things that aren't profitable to me as far as in long term to get the kingdom. Yeah, I might get a nice house by being wicked. Yeah, I might ride a nice car. Yeah, I might have sums of money in my bank. But that can't save my soul. That can't get me the kingdom. So you have to ask the Most High God not only to correct you in your error, but to keep you on the path of righteousness. It's not something you can just do on your own. If that was the case, we wouldn't need the instructions of the scriptures. We wouldn't need the Most High God. We could just do it on our own. I saw a quote today that, I agreed with a portion of what I think they were trying to say, but the other portion, it was like, this is dumb. And it was a quote from Marcus Garvey. And he was basically like, I don't want to butcher it. Let me see if I can get this quote real quick. See if I can read this quote. 1 second. Let me see if I can read this quote. Here it is, I believe. He said, we must give up the silly idea of folding our hands and waiting on God to do everything for us. If God had intended for that, then he would not have given us a mind. Whatever you want in life, you must make up your mind to do it for yourself. Now, in one aspect, I understand what I think he was trying to convey, I'm led to believe, was like, faith without works is dead. All right, I get that. But in the other aspect that I don't agree with is like, you can't do anything without the Most High. So when he says we must give up the silly idea of folding our hands and waiting on God, a part of that I don't agree with, because it's like, from that aspect, we got to wait on the Most High God. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, there's a portion of action, but there's certain actions that you can't do. Like, you're not going to be able to get us out of, like, Marcus Garvey wasn't able to get us out of captivity. Martin Luther King wasn't able to get us out of captivity. Malcolm X wasn't able to get it out of captivity. Kwame Nkrumah. None of these, now, brothers probably had good intentions, but that's not the way. We're not going to get out of captivity until we come back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. So don't get tricked out of your spot by looking at what's going on in the world and having that Lot's wife spirit where you're like, damn. Because basically you're like, I miss wickedness. That's really the breakdown of that. I miss wickedness. Because over there, they're winning, but they're wicked. All right. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire besides thee. So he's reconciling his past thought process and saying, look, I was tripping. I was thinking short term. I wasn't thinking about long term. I wasn't thinking from a kingdom mentality. If you want this to be your kingdom, this wicked kingdom in Job, I believe it's 8:24 says the earth is given over to the hand of the wicked. So if you want this to be your kingdom, go ahead, live it up. Have at it. It's 100 million ways to be wicked. Go have fun. And this is the thought process that you don't want to be in. And if you find yourself constantly battling these thoughts, you need to get loaded up with more precepts on the promises, on what the Most High God promised if you do endure. And you got to pray to the Most High for a spirit of endurance. All right. My flesh and my heart faileth. And this is what it goes into my flesh and my heart, because the flesh and the mind have desires, impulses. And there is none upon earth that I desire but thee. My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. For lo, they that are far from thee shall perish. Thou hast destroyed all them that go a whoring from thee. But it is good for me to draw near to God. I have put my trust in the Lord Yahweh, that I may declare all thy works. And that's what we want to do. We want to rehearse the righteous acts of the Most High God, of what he's done to save those and to reward those who have stayed 10 toes down in his truth. And that's why the accounts are so important, to continually to read and to remind yourself of how the Most High God is consistent. He doesn't change. He's just, right? He's long suffering, and he does not, turn his back on those who follow his law, statutes, and commandments and have faith in him through Yahweh Shai, obviously. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. Don't fret yourself because of evildoers. Don't get in the mind frame of thinking that, righteousness is boring. And we just turned up. New moon. We just turned up. And we're going to turn up, Most High willing, every month, every feast day. All right? Well, with that, we want to give all praise and glory and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Wamalak Yahweh Shai. Stay 10 toes down in his truth. Don't let nobody trick you out your spot, not even yourself. Shalom.